Most people believe manifestation is simply a matter of thinking harder, visualizing longer, or chanting affirmations until the universe finally listens. It sounds persuasive, almost mechanical. Repeat the words, imagine the scene, and eventually reality will bend. But the truth, rarely spoken outside of a few pioneering voices, is that manifestation doesn't begin in the mind. It begins deeper in the body, in the rhythm of the nervous system that is quietly shaping every perception of reality. You could say to yourself, I am abundant 1,000 times a day. But if your body is clenched in stress, if your chest is tight with fear, if your cells are vibrating in survival, the universe does not hear abundance. It hears danger. The field does not mirror your words. It mirrors your state. And when that state is chaos, what do you think the universe reflects back? More chaos. Pause and think about this for a moment. Before you interpret the world with thoughts, before you form beliefs or intentions, your nervous system has already received reality. Every sound, every touch, every flicker of light enters through its filters. If that system is locked in fight or flight, your perception narrows like a tunnel. Your energy contracts. You cut yourself off from the higher frequencies of possibility that mystics and modern scientists alike say are always present. This is not abstract. Neuroscience shows it again and again. Dr. Joe Dispenza, in his groundbreaking work, Becoming Supernatural, explains that when the body is addicted to the chemistry of stress, cortisol, adrenaline, life becomes a loop. The nervous system convinces you that you are not safe, and so it recreates the same predictable past over and over again. The field, infinite and waiting, receives only one instruction: not safe, not ready, not now. And so people struggle. They attend workshops, clutch vision boards, repeat mantras with devotion, and yet nothing changes. Not because the methods are wrong, but because the receiver is jammed. It's like trying to tune into a radio station while static drowns the music. You may hear fragments, but never the full song. That static is the nervous system in survival. Now imagine this: for millennia, long before neuroscience gave us terms like autonomic regulation or cortisol response, ancient traditions whispered the same truth. Shamans in the Amazon prepared the body with rhythmic drumming and breath before any vision quest. Yogis in India practiced pranayama not just for health, but because they knew the breath could open the gateways of perception. In medieval monasteries, monks synchronized their chants with deep, measured breathing, shifting their bodies into resonance before seeking the divine. Each of these practices pointed to the same secret. The body must first be regulated, harmonized, and stilled before it can touch the unseen. When the nervous system shifts from chaos into coherence, everything changes. The heart begins to beat in rhythm with the breath. Brain waves soften from frantic beta into flowing alpha and intuitive theta. The electromagnetic field around the body doesn't shrink in defense. It expands, broadcasting a clear, ordered signal. And in that state, the universe listens differently. The message is no longer drowned in static. It is sharp, direct, undeniable. Bruce Lipton, the pioneering author of The Biology of Belief, once wrote that our cells are not slaves to DNA. They respond to the signals of their environment. Signals born not only from the outer world, but also from the emotions and states we carry within. If your nervous system is flooded with fear, your cells receive only the message of survival. But when your system is calm, coherent, safe, the biology itself opens, grows, and creates. This is the hidden key. Manifestation is not blocked because you haven't repeated enough affirmations. It isn't delayed because you lack imagination. It is blocked because your body, the antenna that broadcasts, your signal to the quantum field, is misaligned, dysregulated, jammed in survival. But here lies the extraordinary promise. The very sensations you've mistaken as signs of failure, the racing thoughts, the trembling hands, the restless heart, are not evidence that you cannot manifest. They are invitations. They are signals urging you to pause, breathe, regulate, and align. They are the door knocking, waiting for you to step into coherence. In quantum mechanics, before a particle shifts into a new state, it enters uncertainty, a liminal space where it can become anything. Your nervous system does the same. Right before a breakthrough, it flickers, destabilizes, wavers between the old and the new. If you can meet it there, if you can steady the tremble, you turn instability into a doorway. So as we begin this journey, remember, the secret of manifestation is not in how hard you think, but in how deeply you regulate. Not in how much effort you pour into affirmations, but in how harmoniously your body, heart, and mind align. This is where the miracles begin, not in words, but in coherence. Stress is not just an inconvenience. It is static in the very signal you are sending to the universe. Imagine a radio dial trembling between stations. The music exists, beautiful, precise, but all you hear is a hiss of interference. This is the human condition when the nervous system is dysregulated. The field is broadcasting infinite possibilities, yet the body, drowned in survival, cannot tune in. Most people believe they fail at manifestation because their technique is flawed. But the truth is starker. Their receiver is broken. A nervous system in chaos cannot hold the frequency of abundance, love, or healing. It contracts inward, scanning endlessly for danger, while opportunity passes unnoticed at the edge of awareness. Neuroscience tells us exactly why. When cortisol and adrenaline flood the bloodstream, the body believes the world is hostile. The prefrontal cortex, the site of imagination and vision, shuts down. The amygdala, the brain's threat detector, seizes control. Perception narrows. The future collapses into a loop of the past. In survival, there is no room for creation. There is only defense. Dr. Joe Dispenza has shown this vividly in workshops and studies. Attendees who remain locked in stress repeat the same intentions for years with a little change. But when they shift into coherence, when heart rhythms and brain waves synchronize, sudden healings occur, opportunities appear, lives pivot in ways that seem miraculous. Why? Because the field is no longer receiving fragmented noise. It is receiving a clear, coherent signal. The great biologist Bruce Lipton puts it plainly. Our cells don't merely follow genetics. They are influenced by the electromagnetic signals generated by our thoughts and emotions. But what happens when those signals are scrambled by fear? The body broadcasts, "not safe," and the field, ever a mirror, reflects danger back. Yet here's the revelation. This wisdom is not new. Long before MRI scans and neurochemical charts, civilizations across the world devised ways to dissolve chaos and restore coherence. Ancient yogis in India practiced pranayama, breathing in deliberate rhythm to still the mind and settle the body. Taoist sages refined qigong, moving energy through the body to align breath, posture, and intention with the flow of life. Indigenous shamans used drumming not as entertainment, but as a precise instrument to entrain brainwaves, guiding the nervous system from survival into transcendence. These practices may have looked different, but their aim was identical: to quiet the noise, to retune the instrument of the body so it could perceive and participate in higher frequencies of reality. The ancients intuited what modern science is only now confirming, that coherence is the doorway to creation. And consider this: in physics, coherence is the principle that separates light from laser. Ordinary light scatters in all directions. A laser, coherent and unified, has such precision it can cut steel. Your nervous system functions the same way. When incoherent, your energy diffuses, scattered, weak, unable to affect change. But when coherent, it focuses with laser-like intensity. The field cannot ignore it. So the question is not whether you are visualizing enough, but whether your body is in harmony. Are your thoughts, emotions, and biology scattering in all directions or moving together in coherence? Because when coherence emerges, the universe does not hesitate. The static dissolves, the signal is clear, and reality itself responds. The human body is not merely flesh and bone. It is an antenna, an intricate receiver and transmitter of reality. At the heart of this antenna is the nervous system, the invisible conductor orchestrating how you perceive the world and how the world responds to you. Neuroscience divides this system into two primary modes. The first is sympathetic, fight or flight, the stress response, the surge of adrenaline that once kept our ancestors alive on the savannah. The second is parasympathetic, rest, repair, creation. In the modern world, most of us never leave the first. We live as though lions are always chasing us. Emails, deadlines, arguments, all registering as predators in the body. And when you are locked in survival, the nervous system closes the gates to imagination. Think of incoherence in physics. When particles scatter chaotically, their energy is wasted in all directions. But when they align, when they become coherent, they create extraordinary power. Photons become lasers. Electrons become superconductors. Human consciousness behaves no differently. A dysregulated nervous system is incoherence. Your thoughts say one thing, your emotions another, your body screams a third. The quantum field hears only confusion, and it reflects it back. John Wheeler, one of the great physicists of the 20th century, described the universe as participatory. Reality does not collapse into form until observed. But observation is never neutral. If your lens is clouded by fear, you collapse a fearful reality. If your lens is harmonized in coherence, you collapse a reality of expansion. The nervous system is that lens. It is the tuning dial that determines which frequency of reality you lock onto. Ancient cultures knew this, though they spoke in the language of spirit rather than physics. Native American vision quests pushed the body to its edge, not as punishment, but to shift the nervous system into altered states where visions of new realities could emerge. Sufi mystics spun in whirling dances until the body dissolved into rhythm and the nervous system surrendered, opening to unity with the divine. Christian hesychasts whispered the Jesus prayer in rhythm with their heartbeat until breath, body, and spirit became one coherent song. Across continents and centuries, the message was the same. If you wish to touch the unseen, the body must first be brought into resonance. The nervous system must be tuned like an instrument, or else every prayer, every vision, every intention is lost in static. Now imagine what this means for manifestation. If you are trying to create abundance while your body is trapped in fear, you're like a violin played with broken strings. No matter how hard you try, the music cannot come. But when you regulate, when breath, heart, and brain align, you become a symphony. Your signal is clean, powerful, undeniable. This is why the nervous system is not just biology. It is the antenna through which the quantum hears you. It is your participatory instrument in the unfolding of reality itself. And when tuned, it becomes the key that unlocks timelines you never believed were possible. If survival locks you out of creation, then the question becomes, how do we shift? How do we move from static to signal, from chaos to coherence? The answer is not found in more effort, but in practices so simple they are often overlooked. The nervous system, after all, is not a fortress. It is a responsive instrument, one that can be retuned in minutes with intention. The first doorway is breath. In neuroscience, the breath is unique. It belongs to both worlds, automatic and voluntary. It keeps us alive without thought, but it can also be consciously shaped. And here lies the key. Studies show that slow rhythmic breathing, around 5 or 6 breaths per minute, naturally activates the vagus nerve, the great wandering highway of the parasympathetic system. With each steady inhale and exhale, the body receives the signal, you are safe. Safety is the soil in which creation grows. But breath alone is not new knowledge. Yogis in India mapped out pranayama thousands of years ago, teaching disciples to guide the life force through the body by harnessing rhythm and focus. In China, Taoist sages spoke of qi moving through meridians, cultivated by breathing with the earth's cycles. Even in Christian monasteries, the monks who chanted for hours were not simply praising, they were regulating, synchronizing their nervous systems into deep coherence before touching the sacred. Try it for yourself. Close your eyes. Inhale slowly for 5 counts. Hold gently for 2. Exhale for 7. With each inhale, imagine drawing energy upward through the spine to the heart. With each exhale, feel tension, doubt, fear dissolving into the field. After only a few minutes, heart and brain begin to dance in rhythm. The static fades. Coherence blooms. This is what the HeartMath Institute calls heart-brain synchronization. The second doorway is emotion, what neuroscientists call emotional priming. The nervous system responds more to feelings than to logic. Gratitude, love, joy. These are not just pleasant moods. They are high-frequency states that rewire the brain. When you flood the body with gratitude, dopamine and serotonin surge, cortisol plummets, and the cells themselves shift into openness. Bruce Lipton reminds us, when cells are not in defense, they turn to growth. The nervous system does the same. In safety, it expands. In expansion, creation flows. But here is the secret. You must feel it as real. Thinking I am grateful is empty without the sensation. You must embody the emotion as though the manifestation has already arrived. Let the body tremble with joy as though the miracle is here. The quantum field does not translate words. It translates vibration, and vibration is carried through feeling. The third doorway is stillness. This is the most radical because our culture worships doing. Productivity, speed, constant motion, these are survival's disguises. But the field does not respond to doing. It responds to being. After breath and gratitude, sit in silence. No agenda, no demand, simply witness. Neuroscience calls this the activation of the default mode network, the brain's state when it turns inward, loosening old neural loops so new ones can form. Mystics knew this well. The desert fathers of early Christianity retreated to silence, not to escape the world, but to let new worlds emerge within. Zen monks in Japan sat for hours, staring at a wall, not in boredom, but in communion with the void. For them, stillness was not absence. It was the space where creation entered. Quantum physics says the same. Until observed, a particle exists in superposition, many possibilities at once. In stillness, when the nervous system is reset, you become the observer that collapses abundance, love, and healing into form. But if your system is scattered, the collapse always favors the old pattern. This is why the practices matter. Breath, gratitude, stillness. These are not spiritual hobbies. They are the tuning keys of the nervous system, the switches that shift you from survival into coherence. And once coherence is present, manifestation is not something you chase. It is something inevitable. If coherence is the doorway to creation, then incoherence is the silent thief. Most people do not realize that it is not their intentions that fail them, but their biology. The nervous system, locked in survival, overrides every dream. The question is, how can you tell when this is happening? The signs are written into the body, whispered in the mind, etched into emotion. The first sign is urgency, that gnawing voice that insists, I must have it now, or it will never come. This is not desire, it is survival. Urgency belongs to the sympathetic nervous system, the body's alarm bell. Neuroscience reveals that when cortisol floods the bloodstream, the prefrontal cortex, the center of vision, imagination, and long-term planning, goes offline. In its place, ancient circuitry takes over. Fight, run, freeze. And when you attempt to manifest from urgency, the field receives a desperate signal. I do not have it. I am not safe. The universe mirrors back more lack. The second sign is obsession with the how. Perhaps you've asked for something, a new path, a new opportunity, and immediately your mind spins with strategies, calculations, endless scenarios. It feels rational, even responsible. But beneath it lies fear. The nervous system is scanning for threats, trying to control the future as though it were a predator to be trapped. And here is the irony. By clinging to the how, you are declaring mistrust. You are telling the field, I don't believe the path will reveal itself. And the field, a perfect mirror, reflects mistrust right back. The third sign is emotional volatility. One day you set your intention and you feel unstoppable. The next, doubt crashes over you, then anger, then despair. This roller coaster is not weakness, it is dysregulation. The nervous system is flickering between the old state of survival and the new state of creation. But if left unregulated, these fluctuations scatter your signal like a broken beacon. One moment radiating abundance, the next broadcasting scarcity. The field responds with confusion, delivering mixed results. The fourth sign is body tension. Manifestation is not just in the mind, it is in the flesh. If your jaw is clenched, your shoulders tight, your breath shallow, your body is broadcasting the truth. I am not free. Joe Dispenza teaches that the body is the subconscious mind. It carries programs deeper than thought. You may speak affirmations, but if your chest aches with heaviness, the field listens to the body, not the words. And then there is the fifth sign, resistance to stillness. If silence feels unbearable, if closing your eyes feels unsafe, if restlessness seizes you whenever you try to meditate, this is not failure. It is proof that your nervous system is locked in fight or flight. To a body in survival, stillness is vulnerability. And yet, paradoxically, stillness is the portal, the very threshold where the old timeline dissolves and a new one is born. Carl Jung once warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. These signs, urgency, obsession, volatility, tension, resistance, are not fate. They are signals. They are the unconscious made visible through the body, revealing exactly where coherence has been lost. History offers us sobering examples of what happens when leaders, artists, or entire societies operate from these signs. Napoleon, brilliant yet consumed by urgency, pushed his empire beyond endurance, collapsing under the weight of survival-driven expansion. Contrast him with the Stoic philosophers of Rome, who counseled patience, stillness, and inner regulation. Marcus Aurelius, in the quiet of his meditations, wrote of mastering the self before mastering the world. His empire endured chaos, yet his words remain coherent 2,000 years later. So ask yourself, how many times have you tried to manifest from urgency? How often have you forced the how, clenched your jaw, drowned in volatility? These are not failures. They are messages. The body does not lie. The nervous system tells you, in every tremble and tightness, exactly where you are blocked. And here lies the invitation. Awareness is the first step toward coherence. The moment you recognize the signs, you stop fighting yourself. You stop mistaking the static for silence. You begin instead to tune. For most people, nervous system dysregulation feels like failure. The racing heart before a conversation, the tight chest when money runs low, the restless thoughts that will not stop circling. We interpret these moments as proof that we are broken, unworthy, incapable of creation. But what if the very opposite were true? What if dysregulation was not the enemy, but the threshold? Neuroscience offers a clue in the principle of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. But rewiring does not happen when we are lost in autopilot. It happens at the edge, when the old response rises and we choose something new. Joe Dispenza calls this the teachable moment. The body serves up the old program of fear, and we, in awareness, have the chance to install the new one. The flicker of chaos is not the end. It is the opening. Quantum physics speaks in similar language. Before a particle collapses into one state, it hovers in superposition, many possibilities at once. Dysregulation is like that. You are flickering between two selves, the old and the emerging. Collapse into fear, and you reinforce the old timeline. Choose coherence in that very flicker, and you collapse into a higher reality. Dysregulation, then, is not an obstacle. It is raw material for transformation. Think of alchemy, the ancient art of turning lead into gold. The alchemists were not only describing metals, they were describing the human spirit. The chaos of dysregulation is the lead, the heavy, unrefined substance of survival. Through breath, awareness, and intention, that very energy can be transmuted into coherence, into the gold of creation. Mystics across ages have understood this. The Christian tradition spoke of the dark night of the soul, not as punishment, but as a prelude to awakening. Sufi poets wrote of the burning of the self as the fire that made union with the divine possible. In myth, the hero's journey always begins in breakdown, exile, fear, descent into the underworld. And it is in that descent, when the old identity dissolves, that the doorway to transformation appears. Imagine this moment in your own life. You are about to speak truth in a room where your voice once trembled. Fear rises. Your breath shortens. Your chest tightens. This is dysregulation. But instead of fleeing, you pause. You breathe slow and deep. You place your hand over your heart. You whisper, I am safe. I am whole. I am creating from love. In that instant, you are not suppressing the chaos. You are transmuting it. And the field responds. The conversation flows differently. The outcome bends. A new timeline locks into place. Bruce Lipton reminds us, cells only thrive in safety. Under stress, they shrink inward. In safety, they expand. The nervous system is the same. Even in the storm, when you create internal safety, you send the field a new signal. Growth, expansion, readiness. The field cannot ignore it. This is why the obstacle is the path. The trembling hand, the restless thought, the pounding heart. They are not failures. They are fuel. They are the test and the teacher. They are the flicker before collapse, asking, will you collapse into fear or into coherence? And when you choose coherence in that very moment, history itself shifts. The ancients called it initiation. Today, we might call it neuroplasticity. The quantum calls it collapse. But by any name, it is the same miracle, the moment when chaos turns to creation. If dysregulation is the doorway, then the reset is the step across the threshold. The practice is not elaborate. It does not demand years in monasteries or hours of daily ritual. It is simple, immediate, embodied. The nervous system, after all, is always listening, and it can be reset in moments if we know how. The first step is pause. When the old program rises, when breath shortens, when thoughts race, when fear clutches the chest. Do not run, do not resist. Simply pause. Awareness itself breaks the loop. As Carl Jung warned, the unconscious will direct your life until you make it conscious. In that moment of pause, you bring the unconscious into light. The second step is breath. Inhale slowly through the nose for 5 or 6 counts. Hold gently. Exhale for the same length. Feel the rhythm like waves on the shore. Each cycle signals safety to the body. Each exhale tells the nervous system, I am not in danger. I am safe. Safety is the foundation of creation. Without it, the field cannot deliver. The third step is identity. Place your hand over your heart and declare, not as words, but as embodiment, I am safe, I am whole, I am connected, I am already living my desired reality. Speak it into your cells. Let the body itself carry the message. Because the field does not respond to empty affirmations. It responds to the frequency your biology is broadcasting. The fourth step is surrender. Once coherence has emerged, stop controlling. Do not demand results. Do not grasp. Simply act from that new state and trust. In physics, coherence is faster than effort. Once the signal is clean, the field rearranges itself instantly. The seed is planted. The collapse is inevitable. Joe Dispenza calls this stepping into the supernatural self. Not because you transcend your humanity, but because you finally align the human instrument with the field it was always meant to play in. Each time you repeat the reset, you carve a new neural pathway. Each time you choose coherence, you stabilize a higher frequency. Eventually, it is no longer a practice. It is who you are. Think of the samurai archer, breathing slowly before releasing an arrow. Or the Zen monk, still as a mountain, radiating peace even as chaos swirls outside the temple walls. These masters did not do coherence. They became coherence. Their nervous systems broadcasted clarity so steady that reality itself bent around them. This is the path of mastery. Not a single miracle, but a way of being. Each pause, each breath, each act of surrender builds a new identity. Until coherence is no longer something you touch occasionally, but the ground you walk upon. And in that state, manifestation is no longer effortful. It is inevitable. So pause, right now, feel your breath. Place your hand on your heart. Whisper it. My nervous system is my portal to miracles. This is not metaphor. This is physics, biology, history, and spirit converging into one truth. Every time you reset, you collapse reality in your favor. Remember, the universe has never been deaf to you. It has only been waiting for the static to clear. And once coherence becomes your song, the field has no choice but to respond in kind.